You'll want to go to learninginhand.com/print or click on the link that's attached to the week 2 assignment post. Then you can scroll down, and this is where we'll make a copy of the templates in a moment. I have 2 of them. I have one that is for 3-inch by 3-inch sticky notes. You can fit 6 to a page. There's another one for smaller sticky notes that are 2 inches by 1.5 inches, so you can fit more on one page. Scroll down on this page and you will get instructions on how to print. Included is printing a guide page so that you have a paper to attach the notes before you resend it through the printer. And one piece that's really important, so do come back and check these instructions, is when you print them out, which is optional for this week's assignment, but if you do choose to print them out, make sure you hide the background when you send the notes through. That way you won't get a dotted line that will overlap parts of your note. You scroll down even more, there are a few design tips, which I'll be sharing in this video, but there are samples. There are some more ideas and more templates. I hope that these ideas for personalized stickies will help you get some ideas and inspiration for what you might make for your week 2 assignment. I think I have some pretty cool ideas here. What I also tried to do was give you some different design examples. So some of these I'll be demonstrating right now, but hopefully you can take some of this and use it as inspiration for your creations this week. I'm going to scroll back up and click to get the template for the 3-inch by 3-inch stickies. I click to get a copy. And then when I'm working in my own copy, I can edit and use it however I want. This is in Google Slides because I needed to use a background image. And also I wanted multiple pages in this template. So you can see on the left, there is more than one page, which we cannot do in Google Drawings. But the tools are pretty much the same as what you'd see in Google Drawings. So there's still the arrange menu that we'll put to good use this week. That's the same arrange menu that we saw in Google Drawings. It's the same one in Google Slides. The slides, as you'll notice, are set up so they're the same size as a piece of paper. When I created the template, I went to File and Page Setup and set a custom page size of 8.5 inches by 11 inches. You don't have to mess with that because that's already done for you, but I wanted to let you know that's how I made the template. So page 1, we will actually leave blank. This page is for you to print your guide paper. Our designing actually all happens on page 2. So that I can see my design better, I'm going to use the zoom tool. I click it once and then I click on my canvas. And let's click a second time. That one's a little bit too big, so I can go back to 100% zoom and I can just click once to zoom. Then I'll go back to my select tool so that I don't keep zooming my canvas. Just like the template says here, you're going to replace this text and add your own. So I just click this box to select it along the side there and hit delete on my keyboard. And now it's a blank slate for me to use. The sticky note will be inside this dotted line. And when I print, I'll hide the background so that this dotted line will not be printed on my sticky. It's just there as a guide for you right now. Because it's in the background, you won't be able to use this for alignment. You're going to have to do some eyeballing. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. Let's start off by just making a simple reminder sticky note. Let's give it a border. I'm going to go up to Shapes and choose a rounded rectangle. I think rounded rectangles make some pretty nice borders. I click, hold, and drag and let go. If I want this to be a perfect square, I can hold down Shift as I do this, and I do want it to be a perfect square. So I'm holding down Shift, and I don't want to get too close to the edge. So I'm going to make sure I leave a margin. And probably one of the comments I make most on people's week 2 assignment is leave a margin. If you go all the way to the edge, things might get left off because your stickies aren't precisely stuck to the page the way they are. So do leave a little bit of a margin. And again, alignment guides don't work here because this dotted line isn't actually an object. It's in the background as an image. So I need to use Shift and my arrow keys to eyeball my border to put it right in the middle. I think that looks pretty good. Then I want my border to have a weight of 2 pixels. I want the inside to be transparent and the outside to be black. It looks like the default is a gray, so I'll change it to black. Here's another thing about the rounded rectangle and many of the other shapes that you use in Google Apps. Let's click to select it again. And you might not have noticed this little diamond here. When I click and drag that to the left, that adjusts the roundness of the corners of my rectangle. And the default, I think, is often too round for just about everything I do. So I'm going to move it over and make it less round. Pretty cool, huh? Let's continue with the design and add another rounded rectangle. This will be for my title. So I click and drag. And this time, let's take that diamond and drag it all the way to the right. And then you have this capsule shape that seems to be drawn. And what I would like to do is just put the word reminder. Let's center this. I will need to use the text justification tools to center and also to put it in the middle, which looks like it already was, but now I can adjust the size of this and the text will always be in the middle. To stylize this, I would like to make my text white and the fill black. And because that border, it's probably hard to tell on your screen here, is a light gray, I can just make the border either black or transparent, either one, and that looks pretty good. To stylize this even more, I'll change the font to something like, let's see. No. Oh, this one looks kind of rounded like the rounded rectangle. That's great. Let's make this a little bit bigger. A 20-point font. There we go. This is okay, but I think this is kind of a neat style. I'm going to first center this so I can see it centered with the border and move it up a little bit. And then I'm going to click my border and drag this down. Click off of that. And I think that's kind of a neat look. The border goes behind what I've used for the title. And the title seems a little bit too wide, so I can adjust that and then recenter it. That's what design is all about, is fiddling and making changes constantly, as you've surely discovered from your week 1 assignment. Now, let's say I want some lines to write on. I'm going to choose the line tool, and I'm going to click and drag while holding down Shift so that I get a perfectly straight line parallel to the top and bottom of the page, and let go. That looks pretty good. I'm going to duplicate this several times. You can either go to the menu and use the menu option to duplicate, or I'm just going to use keyboard shortcuts and keyboard arrows. It's a lot faster for me, and I know these aren't really arranged exactly how I want them, but that's okay. I have the arrangement menu up there waiting for me. So I select just by dragging a box around. And this also selected the outer border, but that's not a big deal because I'm going to hold down Shift and now click the border. And that subtracts from my selection what I Shift click. So I got rid of the border in my selection. So now I can go to Arrange and let's align these so they're centered. Good. And let's distribute them vertically so that they have a consistent amount of space between each one. Now, if I zoom in to kind of inspect the details here, you might even see that these lines are gray, which are great. I think I want them to be even lighter gray, but they cross the border. That means I want this border to be in front, or I want the lines to be in back. Either way I order them, I want the border to be on top of the lines. So let's zoom back out and zoom in one level. Get my selector tool. I'm going to select these lines. Shift-click to unselect the border. And let's make these a lighter line color. I like lighter lines when you think that you're going to write on something that's printed out. The light gray will make the pen or pencil show up better than if you had straight up black lines. Right? And the other thing I want to do is under Arrange, I'm going to change the order by sending what's selected to the back. All right, click off of this. Let's zoom in and check our details. Aha, it looks exactly the way I want. If this is the only sticky note that I am designing, then what I will do, zoom back in again, is drag to select this, and then I'm going to duplicate. So you can use the keyboard shortcut, Command or Control D to duplicate. Put that in the next box. Let's see, use my arrow keys to center it. Then I can select all of this, duplicate, move that down the page. Use my arrow keys to fine tune. And then once again, I will duplicate. I'm going to get rid of what I have here. Select again, duplicate. Use my arrow keys to move around. So now I have 6 per page, so I could print off a bunch of these. For your assignment this week, you might want to design several different sticky notes. You can put them on separate pages, or you can go back and I'm going to just delete all of these, and I'm going to make each box a different kind of note, just as a sampler. You know that it's really easy to duplicate this page. In Google Slides, select a slide, right-click, and then choose to duplicate the slide. Now I have multiple slides with that same background. I can edit the second one. I can duplicate again. So do know that you can have as many pages as you'd like in your sticky note template. Next, I'd like to make a to-do list sticky note. I will add a rectangle that I can use for the title. Tony's to-do list. Then let's center the text and put it in the middle. We can find a font. And if you're thinking, wow, Tony has a lot more fonts than I have, you can go to the bottom of the menu and choose more fonts, and then you can browse the fonts that Google has available. Maybe I want to use, well, let's try this one. Ah, nice. For this rectangle, I would like a white fill color, and I will keep the border at 1 pixel thick, and I'd like that border to be black. There we go. Google Slides and Google Drawings do not offer a drop shadow tool, but I'm not going to let its lack of a tool stop me from using a drop shadow. I am going to take this rectangle and keyboard shortcut for duplicate, and I don't need text in this one, but what I do need is to fill it with black. And then I go to Arrange, Order, and I'm going to send it back. Using the arrow keys, I'm going to fine-tune the position of this to make it appear to be a drop shadow. Pretty cool, huh? So it's really 2 objects together. Let's take a look at this technique again. I'm going to add another rectangle, but I actually want it to be a square. So I hold down Shift as I drag, so I get a square. The fill color is white. The border is black. That's what I have there. And then I'm going to click it. Keyboard shortcut for duplicate. Fill it with black. Send it to the back. And now use my arrow keys to fine tune so that the checkbox has a shadow. I think I want it to have a more dramatic shadow than that. So about one more. Aha, looks good. I'm going to select both of them by dragging a box around them and arrange and group. And I'm just going to select my rectangle here and align them on the left. Next, I'll add a line so I have a spot to write. I'm holding down Shift as I draw. That didn't go exactly where I wanted, but now I can use the arrow keys to fine-tune its position. And since I'm going to write on this line, I think I'll have it a light gray color. Let's select the checkbox and the line and group again. And now I'm going to duplicate this group, move it over, duplicate, move it over. See how many. It's like I can have 5 items on my to-do list. And now I will select those 5, go to Arrange, Distribute, vertically. And let's see if they need to be centered with the to-do. And remember, the whole thing centered in the dotted lines is something you have to eyeball. And I made sure to leave a margin around the outside. I think this will look pretty good printed. I've got to tell you about my favorite website for finding black and white icons. It's called The Noun Project, and you can get to it at thenounproject.com. They have over 1 million icons, so just about anything that you put into the Noun Project, they probably have. I want to have my next sticky note be a list of phrases that students can use to express opinions. So let's look up opinion. And I scroll down and I see several options that I might like. Ooh, I think this one's a good one. So I click its thumbnail. I can see information about it. Now I am logged in currently with a free account. You can use the Noun Project completely free, but you do need to log in. And when you choose to download, pick PNG, Portable Network Graphic. And then I want to download it as Creative Commons. Royalty free would ask me to pay for the image. Using the Creative Commons image, you'll notice that when you insert it into your project, it will have the attribution on it. So you can drag and drop or go to insert and choose the picture after you've downloaded it from the Noun Project. Let me drag a corner to shrink it down for this and see it has the attribution stamped right on there. I can crop that out if I would like to and move it somewhere else. But the license says that you will have that credit on there somewhere. I use the Noun Project all the time, and you might notice that I do not give attribution to the icons I use, and that's because I pay for the Noun Project. And let's go to its home screen at thenounproject.com, and they have icons for education. So educators, students, and education staff can get Noun Pro, and it's $20 for a year. And that's an incredible price. In the past, before they reduced their prices, I was paying $99 a year, and I was super happy with that price. Paying $20 a year means you can download as many icons as you'd like from the Noun Project, and you don't have to give attribution. And you get some other benefits too, where you can change the icon color. You can use a Mac app that they have if you're on a Mac. So there's a lot of advantages to paying that $20 for 1 year. With this note about opinion phrases, I want to show you another way to frame your note. I'm going to use this icon in just a little bit. I'm going to move it out of the way. And I'm going to draw a rectangle. Leaving a margin. So again, eyeballing it. It does want to align with what's up above. Give it just a little bit more margin on the side. All right, pretty good. I'm going to give this a black fill. It doesn't need a border color, so I make that transparent. And now I'm going to add a text box with white text that says opinion phrases. And I will center, put it in the middle so the text is where I want it. And let's see, find a font. All right, that sounds like a good one. Just a little bit larger than that. All right, move this up. Then for the content area of this note, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a rounded rectangle below so that the information is framed. Let's make the corners a lot less round. Make sure it's centered with the black square behind it. There. It needs a white fill, transparent border. Then I can bring maybe this back in. And oh, let me undo that. Where did it go? Why does it disappear? It's because I added this first. So I'm going to go to Arrange and Order and bring that noun project icon to the front. Now it doesn't disappear when I drag it there. And one thing to note is when you are resizing images, if you pull one of these boxes that are in the middle instead of the corner, you're going to smush your image. And usually images don't look great smushed. So let me undo that and instead drag the corner. Then I'm going to add a text box and type in the phrases. All right, with my text added, I kind of have an idea of how big I can make my illustration. I think that will make a pretty nice sticky note that students can use as a reference. For my next note, I want to show you a few more design techniques. Let me add a rectangle that I will be using for a title here momentarily. Give it a black fill, no border. I have purposely placed this rectangle so that it overlaps and passes the border. That means that when it's printed on the sticky note, it will bleed off the side of the page. So I'm ignoring the advice I gave earlier about margins, and in this case, I'm letting it go all the way off of the note. Bleeding is actually looks really great on the sticky notes when you print them. So a lot of my designs end up using the bleed. Now, I have the rectangle here, but I would like to turn it into a ribbon shape. You see these a lot and they're handy for titles. I think they look pretty cool. So I'm going to add a right triangle and eyeball here. I can change that in a little bit. I will give it black fill, transparent border. Now I'm going to duplicate. With this duplicate, I go to Arrange and Rotate, and I'm going to flip it vertically. I drag it into place so that the two tips meet. I think that's really great. It's a little bit bigger than my rectangle, so I will shift click to select both and adjust the height. All right, shift click again, and I'm going to use my arrow keys to move that into place. Cool. And then I can just drag to select all three items, go to Arrange and Group. Then I can use a text box to add a font. Of course, it needs to be white since it's on black, and it could be something I did well. There we go. You know me, when I add a text box, I like to center it, put it in the middle, and maybe change this font. Something kind of handwritten I think would look neat here. Okay, that looks good. Let's see what 18-point font looks like. All right, I like that a lot. Now I want a second ribbon. So I click it, use my keyboard shortcut for duplicate, and I think I want it coming off the other side of the note. I want it to bleed off the right side. So under Arrange and Rotate, I'm going to flip horizontally and move it over so that it will have that bleed. Then I'm going to take this text box and duplicate it so I have the same size font. Maybe something I can work on. And use arrow keys to move that into place. So that is another sticky note. Now that I zoomed out, I see I want to move things around so I have plenty of space to write, or so that a student would have plenty of space to write. This doesn't look so great in Google Slides, but on a real sticky note, I think it'll turn out great. You've probably seen Bitmoji cartoons online. They are personalized avatars that you can actually use anywhere, including in Google Slides and on sticky notes. You might think that you need to use them on a phone app, but actually, you can use them in Google Slides just by going to the Chrome Web Store and searching Bitmoji to get the Bitmoji Chrome extension. It's free. After it's installed, you'll click its icon and then you'll be asked to sign in. If you already have a Bitmoji account and you're all set up, then you're good to go. If you don't, you'll be led through the process of creating your customized cartoon. I have the Bitmoji extension installed. It's in my toolbar in Chrome and I can click it. I can see a variety of categories. Let's do You Rock. And my avatar that I've already set up is inserted into each of these cartoons. Let's use the congrats. So I can click and drag while I'm viewing my Google Slides document. It would work the same in Google Drawings. And it's inserted. Let's drag a corner to make it smaller. And maybe I want the whole note to be a congratulations from my cartoon version. What I might do here is fit him in there, and I could try to center it, or this is an opportunity to bleed off the edge. That'll be a nice look for my sticky note, is with my cartoon coming off the edge of the paper. Let's find another one. Maybe you want a thanks. Here's one. After dragging and dropping, I can resize, and this is another one that I think will look good, bleeding off the edge of the page. Of course, you can use this in combination with ribbons and titles and text boxes to personalize your sticky notes. You're probably going to print these off in black and white. These will look okay in color. If you have white sticky notes, they'll look best. But if you wanted to preview or tweak what they might print like, here's what you can do. Click your Bitmoji and go to Image Options. a panel appears on the right, and you can choose to recolor. So maybe one of these black and whites, and you can determine how dark you want it. And then you get a sense of what this would look like, printed in black, white, and gray. Another kind of sticky note you might be interested in making is one that uses a watermark. That's a light image in the background. Let's do that. I'm going to duplicate this slide so that I have a whole nother page. And I can just select all of this, delete it. And here's how I might do a watermark. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to just drag in an image. Here's the Learning in Hand logo in black. I just want it right there in the middle of my sticky note. Leave a margin. Now, the problem here is if I did print this off and I wanted to write a note over it, well, you wouldn't see my writing over the logo. So that's where we can do a watermark. With the image selected that you'd like to make light to make into the watermark, select it and click Format Options. Then, under Adjustments, make it partly transparent. Let's see. This is kind of just barely there. So for me, transparency of maybe 90% would look pretty good. So that's how you might do a watermark. When you go to print these, you'll first print the first page, normally page 1 to 1, so that you can then have the guide to attach your sticky notes. Then when it's time to print on the sticky notes, you put them back in the printer. Instead of going to print, you'll go to File and Print Settings and Preview. Print Settings and Preview has the option to hide the background. So when you click Hide Background, the first page is going to look blank because that was just the template guide. And the other pages, you'll notice they're all missing that border. And that's a good thing. You don't want that border to be reprinted because it could get printed on the sticky notes and it wouldn't look so great. So make sure that you hide the background before you print. And then when you do, click the print button here, and I do page 2 and 3. If I have those queued up in my printer ready to go, it will print without those borders, making it look super great on your sticky notes.